Hi, I'm David Smith from Hay Group and I'm the sector leader for the public and not-for-profit sectors. I work with those organisations to assist with their challenges around pay, talent and effectiveness. So the video today is around how organisations in the public and not-for-profit sectors are adapting how they work to meet the challenges that they're now faced with. So for instance, we're seeing housing trusts develop additional care services, local authorities move to outsourcing models, universities focusing on commercial and international operations, and charities looking for new sources of income as fundraising becomes tougher. So from a HR perspective, these organisations are really going to need to think about how they attract, recruit, retain and develop the workforce to meet those challenges in the future. So it's clear that many organisations have still got a freeze on recruitment activity, and this makes it really difficult for them to bring in the people that they need. However, a lot of charities we work with, as an example, are talking to us about the need to recruit a different type of person now. I mean, if we take fundraising as an example, a recent survey suggested that 93% of fundraisers are finding the fundraising climate tougher in the last 12 months than before. So there's a real worry, particularly when we look at the changes to tax relief for wealthy people donating money to charity, that actually money from both the general public and the government is drying up for these organisations. So in the past, charities may have looked for people with an emotional link with that particular charity, maybe more mission driven, but actually now they're talking to us about looking for and attracting more commercially savvy people, commercially driven people who are actually really keen to come in and help them generate income and essentially keep that organisation in existence. So although you can find out a little bit about people in the interview process, we really recommend that you do a more detailed assessment of their personality, their traits, their attitudes, their motives, because then you'll really get under the skin of what drives somebody and ultimately what they'll bring to the role. And that's far beyond the usual sort of skills and abilities that people put on their CVs. So assessing candidates is fine, but ultimately you need to attract them first, and a lot of that is about making the role attractive and thinking about your employer brand and pay and culture of the organisation as well. So for instance, people who are driven by targets and generating income are likely to have come from a commercial background. They'll be expected to be rewarded differently. For instance, they might be eligible for certain types of benefits, for things like variable pay and bonuses, sales commission for instance. And so there could be some work to do around developing the pay system, designing the pay system and thinking about the employer brand as well. How does your organisation look in terms of its website and its approach and its candidate offer? The public and not-for-profit sectors have a lot to offer when you consider some of the intangible rewards such as personal development, work-life balance. It also provides an opportunity to work on some really great cutting-edge projects. And finally, with the cost of things like spiralling costs of things like childcare and commuting, a lot of public and not-for-profit organisations offer people the ability to work closer to home and get home and see the kids before bedtime and have a bit of work-life balance that many other roles wouldn't provide them. So there's a lot to offer the right candidates, and I think now in these challenging times it's about organisations really making a play on some of these things and developing some of these things going forward. So if there's a recruitment freeze on you don't have the opportunity to bring in the people you want, then it's all about developing the people that you've already got in the organisation. So new structures will require a new set of skills and behaviours, and so it's important that HR and line managers take the time to do a number of different things. Firstly, they need to develop and design new operating models. They need to identify the skills and competencies and behaviours that are needed to be effective in the new world. They need to assess where the organisation is in relation to these, and then finally take corrective action to look at suitable development interventions. So once you've done all the hard work of attracting, recruiting and developing your best talent, you need obviously to keep them. And retention's a massive issue. It's a key consideration in all areas. Other sectors have had this problem for many years, and if we think about local government, for instance, social workers have been poached from one council to another council, professors move universities if they receive better offers in certain cases. So it's likely that this will be the case as well when you start to look at people like commissioners and IT project managers and corporate fundraisers, for instance, the kind of new demanding roles of the future, or the roles in high demand in the future. So recruitment and development costs are significant, and you really need to ensure that you reap the benefits of that investment. People leave for a number of different reasons, and if we do all of the things I've mentioned earlier on around leadership development, around engagement, around having an understanding of what drives people and motivates people, and building appropriate levels of reward, then that will help to retain key staff members. It's clear this is one of the toughest periods the public and not-for-profit sector's ever really been through. Change is going to be really unsettling for staff. I think there's two really important considerations. Firstly, leaders need to understand the impact they're having on the rest of the workforce. There are a number of different leadership styles, and leaders need to balance the kind of need to be empathetic and responsive to the concerns of the workforce, but also at the same time bold enough to drive through the changes that are required. Secondly, the organisation needs to build resilience amongst staff. So organisations are going to be most successful if their employees are effective. And what I really mean by that is that they're engaged and they're enabled. So they've got the will and the way to do their jobs effectively.